Welcome back. This is Miss Faye, and this is my world. All right, today's topic is about rebellious sons. Your rebellious sons. Now, we have a letter, so let's dive into this letter and see what she says. I'm a single mother raising a 17-year-old son who still lives at home. For most of his life, we've shared a close and loving relationship. At least I thought so. But lately, everything feels different. He's become rebellious and often tells me I'm annoying. You know, that's hurtful with your child that you love dearly. All of a sudden, you get on their nerves. What can you do with that? Sometimes he even acts bossy toward me, and it feels like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, never sure what might set him off. I don't even know his triggers anymore. I've tried so many times to talk to him, choosing moments when we're both calm, but even then, he suddenly flies off the handle and storms out. Yeah, this is very difficult to understand. You know, I raised 3 boys, and they all went through these changes. All. It leaves me feeling hopeless and heartbroken. I can't help but wonder, what happens to young men at this age? Is he just feeling trapped or frustrated with life? Why does he seem so unhappy when I've tried to give him everything he's ever needed or wanted? I'm torn between questioning myself. Am I doing something wrong? I know how you feel because, you know, in times like this, you wonder, did you do too much? Did you give too much? Maybe you should have made life a little tougher for them. Maybe they would appreciate it more, but even then, I don't know. I think this is probably something that maybe all young men go through, because I noticed that at this age, even if there's a 2-parent household, it's the father and the son that gets in it. And usually the son ends up leaving, maybe moving out. But I noticed that it's a pattern around teenage stage. It's when these boys kind of change. I guess they're growing and they don't know which way they want to grow, but I don't understand the rebellion part of it. Why are they angry? It must be a chemical or a hormonal imbalance. I just want to rebuild the bond we once had. Well, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And when you look at life like that, you can get through these difficult times. And one of the reasons I think is probably you needed time to heal, and he needed time to grow away from you. Not saying that you're going to lose your son, because I'm sure he still loves you. But hopefully, when he decides to go, that he's not influenced by toxic people, because that can cause him to get in trouble, destroy his life, the whole thing. When they get upset and they leave home, and then if they don't go to a positive place, positive environment, if it's toxic, it's going to influence them. Now, when they leave home, I don't know, are they looking for something new, or are they looking for their manhood? Maybe that's it. They want to grow up. They want to be men. They don't want to be influenced by their mother anymore. Maybe that's it. But why attack the mother? Why bite the hand that's been feeding you all these years? You understand? If you want to grow, grow. I'm sure your mother will support you and leave you alone. You know, help you out the door. but don't attack your parents when you're ready to go. I don't understand that part. Okay, let's see here. It may be biological and brain development. Hormones surge, testosterone and other hormones spike in these years, fueling mood swings, irritability, and sometimes aggression. So if they are sitting in their room and they're going through all these changes, the only person that they can be aggressive is you, mothers, because you're the one that's there. It's just like a single mothers get blamed by the kids for everything because there's nobody else to blame. You see, they don't know how to handle that, whatever burden they're carrying, so they're looking to blame somebody. So they blame the parent that's there. And very rarely will they even bother to think about the parent that wasn't there. It was mother's fault. Everything. You see? Brain rewiring. The frontal cortex, responsible for self-control, planning, and empathy, is still developing, while the emotional reaction part of the brain is in overdrive. This creates a push and pull between impulses and reasoning. Okay, so it's a biological thing with the hormones, and they probably don't even understand it themselves. I know, I have a son. He's not in his teens or anything, but sometimes I noticed that he doesn't hear what I say. He hears it in a different way. So, I have to look into that because, I'm a right brain and he's a left brain. So I don't know how he translates what I'm saying. And maybe you mothers can look at that. Maybe sometimes when you're talking to your son, when he was little, it was easy, loving. But now that he's trying to be a man and you're trying to talk to him, now all of a sudden he doesn't hear what you're trying to say. Whatever comes out of your mouth is coming like an attack on him. He's not receptive to anything. And even if you go and try to patch it up, that makes him more agitated. So I think it's best to kind of just, overlook it. Like a storm. You just have to weather the storm until it passes. Okay. But I do think it's the wrong idea for you to get so upset with your son that you kick him out. That I don't agree with. Now, he may decide that he's going to leave. That would totally be his decision. But I wouldn't kick him out. It's too much toxicity in the world. And it's too many detrimental things that your sweet boy could get into if you kick him out on the street. So no matter what he says and does, because I know some of these kids can be awful. They'll stand up and curse you out. I haven't heard any reports of them hitting the mother, but they will curse you out, hurt your feelings and all of that, slam things, break things in the house, because if you let it escalate, whenever your son has that mood swing, I think it's best, mothers, for you to step off. Don't engage. Don't even be in the room. If you can just step off and go to your quiet, peaceful place, take your mind off of it and focus on something else. Because even if you try to have a conversation at that time with him, it's going to turn into a big argument. He's not open to any conversation. He just wants to say what he says and, whatever. Take it like you want to. Or act the way he wants to act. Because some boys, They might not be that verbal, but you can see their mood swings. All of a sudden their smile turns into a frown. And they're not attentive. And they'll treat you like they don't want to be around you. Okay? Those are the times I think you should just step off and let it be. With mine, I didn't know any better. So I would try to talk to them in a calm voice. What's wrong? Even when I saw the mood swing, not before they really acted out, but the mood swing. What's the matter? Why are you acting like that? And that was the spark they were looking for. And it just blew up into an awful fire that you couldn't even put out. So that's why I say, I think you should just step off, leave it alone. Maybe with time, he'll come back and see the error in his ways or grow up. Maybe this is all a part of growing up. But for you to confront and try to work this situation out is a dead end. I found, and I had 3 boys. So I found it was not a good time to try to talk, to try to communicate. They don't want to communicate. You are the enemy, and that's the way they see you at that point. All right. They have some psychological shifts. Identity formation. They are figuring out who they are separate from their parents. Well, you're a single mother. You got your son, and your son from little boy all the way to now the teenager, you and your son. Now he does not want to identify with you. Not now. And you know what? Mothers, it can be a little hurtful. You can feel a sense of abandonment. I'll admit that. But in hindsight, it's a good thing. He needs to grow away from you. You don't want your son to be like a mama's boy. He needs to grow away from you. And hopefully you have taught him the good things to do in life, to be successful, to be progressive, to be ambitious. Hopefully you have taught him all of that so that when he does, because usually during this time is when they get ready to move out. You can feel it coming. All right. So, just go with the flow. Don't try to jump the gun. What, you gonna move out? Why you can't afford to? Don't go there. Don't go there at all. Just go with the flow. Let him, go on, because some mothers will try to hold the son back, and he'll end up getting violent. The anger can grow to violence. So let him go. Let him go. If he's acting out, it's coming. Okay? Rebelling often feels like the only way to carve out independence. You see? They felt like you got to rebel to get away from your parents. I don't want to be like you, because boys would do it with the dads there too. I tell you, this is during the time when the son and the dad usually go head to head. Okay? All right. Testing boundaries. Pushing back against authority is a way to practice adulthood while still under the safety net of home. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. If you're going to be living at home, now it's been you and your mom. You still got your room. But if you're going to be living at home, you still need to abide by your mother's rules. This is her house. And no matter how old she is, this is her house. go by her rules if you decide to live in her home. I don't care if you were raised there, you grew up there, everything. No. Only when you get your own place, then you have your own rules. But don't go in your mother's house and all of a sudden you don't want to go by the rules. You're going to make your own rules. I think that's wrong. But it happens during this time. Because they want to rebel against authority, and you are the authority. All right. Now, apparently there's a need for respect. Young men crave to be treated less like children and more like equals, even though they may not yet act like adults consistently. They want to act like an equal. You know what? But that's selective. That's not all the time. They want to be an equal when it comes to making the rules, the guidelines, what we're going to do, things. They want to be like an equal. But then when it comes to something that they need, that they're not able to do for themselves, now they want to be treated like your son, like your child. They want you to take care of it. You understand? So, that's selective behavior. Sometimes you want to be treated like a child, like you've always been treated. And then sometimes, just like that, you want to rebel against it. Okay? It can be hurtful, ladies, and confusing. Now, what about this? Peer influence. Friends' options begin to matter more than parents. Fitting in, looking cool, and not seeming controlled by mom or dad become top priorities. So if your son is still at home, of course, it's according to how young he is, 17, 18. Most likely they're still at home. And even, today, because of the economics, a lot of older sons are still at home. Well, the whole thing about it is when they go out with their friends are probably saying, so where you live? And they say, oh, I live over there with my mom. Wait, that can be a thing. That can be pressure because of their friend's reaction. They don't think they look at you like, you're underclass citizen, you still living at home. And that's a mindset, really. Because I don't see a problem with young men living at home until they decide to marry and buy a home, buy their own home. This is how I feel. Because I think just moving out of your mom's house into an apartment is a waste of energy, time, and money. You're throwing money away. You're never going to see that money again. And it's never going to benefit you in any way. So it's better to stay at home, I believe, save that little bit of money so that when you decide to marry, if you decide to marry, or if you just decide you want to buy your own home, at least you have some funds to start a new life with. But this apartment living, I cross it off, and I've talked against it. Although, even my people don't listen. So, you understand? I understand that whole part of life because I spent a lot of years in apartments. Okay, it's a dead end. It's a waste of your money. And hopefully your son will understand that. But if he decides to stay at home, this is the thing. Stay out of his way, Mom. Don't ask him where you going, how late you going to be, who she. Don't ask nothing. Let him live his life on his own in your home. As long as he goes by the rules of the home. He can't just come in with a lot of loose women all time of night, playing loud music and all of that crap. If he let him know if he wants to live like that, he needs to go to her house. Okay, he needs to go somewhere else with that. But as long as he knows your boundaries and the rules that you set for this home, and he should know it if he grew up in the home, what you're going to tolerate. You see? Then just let him live his life. I wouldn't ask him nothing. Unless he wanted to come to me and talk about something, then I would always be open to him. And if he needed help for anything, I would always be there for him. But as far as what he's doing, why he's doing it, and how, leave him alone. Let him grow up. Okay? All right. How about stress and uncertainty? School, future plans, relationships, and social media can make them feel overwhelmed. Anger or withdrawal sometimes mask fear or insecurity. Insecurity. Well, I can understand that they don't know, what they want to do for their future career or anything. But hopefully, Mom, along the way, even when he was growing up, you just kind of talk to him about future things. Because right now, he doesn't want to listen to you. He's listening to people outside of you. His friends that he meets, his peers, maybe some older people that he's found. But he's out looking for different counsel. He's already heard enough from you. Okay. All right. He has a desire for autonomy. He may feel trapped at home, caught between wanting freedom and still dependent on you. Well, that's his choice. I mean, yeah, well, but that's a hard thing because, even when my dad was still alive and mobile, I depended on him. When I was in his presence and we went to the store, I expected him to pay. He always paid when I was a girl. I'm still his daughter. That's the way I felt. You understand? So with your son, when he comes with you, yeah, he's expecting you to pay, which you probably just do it automatically wherever y'all go or whatever, unless he'll say, oh, you want something? I'll get it. You understand? But normally, he'd be expecting Mom to pay, which she always has. But maybe it's some kind of a thing with that. Although he wants and expects you to pay, maybe he feels guilty about it, shame about it, something about it, for him to rebel for his freedom. And you know what? Freedom is scary. It's scary. So, but the thing about it, your mom is always going to be there. She's never going to turn her back on you. But, Mom, my advice to you is to stay out of his business. Hopefully you've already had the sex talk with him. and job and career, whether he's going to school or whatever the situation is. You understand? You have already got that plan by the time he's, in his younger years. And if he is older, well, then he already should be in his profession. But the thing is, he's still living at home. Okay? And probably if he's an older guy, he's getting pressure on the outside. And then maybe your son is not even dating because he's living at home with you. You're fulfilling all his needs for a woman, except the sex part. Think about it. So, maybe that's why he wants to break away from you so that he can concentrate on a woman for himself. And I can understand that because, I raised my boys. It was just me. And we're all learning and we're all growing. And we do the best that we can with the knowledge that we have at the time. So at this time, my wisdom has grown after raising these 3 boys. So I hope that you understand the message today. And I really hope that it helps someone. I want to thank you so much for your comments and your letters. And a very special thank you to those that leave a donation. I really appreciate all of you. I wish you all the very best. And I really hope to see you next time.